Hello, MCU fans! Today we're going to be digging for answers in Agatha All Along, Episode 5. So much to discuss, not the least of which is what I believe to be the 100% confirmation of the identity of this guy, the ever-elusive Mr. Teen. So, there will be spoilers for the episode, but as long as you're okay with that, let's dive right in and see what we can find out. Don't forget, we have an October contest running all month long. Be a subscriber, leave a comment. You could win a book or a steelbook. Best of luck. And we have a membership option with lots of cool perks, so you might check it out in case you're interested. All right, so once again, the title of the episode is part of The Ballad of the Witch's Road. In particular, this time around, Darkest Hour, Wake Thy Power. And Wake Thy Power is very important because it's Teen who is going to have his power awakened big time. All right, so we start the episode by realizing that the door was left open. Yes, that is the little kind of chalk outline, whatever you want to call it, that they made to try to summon up the Green Witch. Well, it turns out that it didn't summon the Green Witch, but it left a door open so that the Salem Seven could arrive. So here we see a fox coming through. We'll eventually see an owl, a crow, a snake, several of them. In fact, this is positive confirmation that that was the Salem Seven back in episode 2, because remember we saw the crow, the rat, and the coyote. Now, in the comics, the Salem Seven, for the most part, aren't animals. Well, the one on the far right is a half snake, but they're pretty crazy looking. But clearly, this time around, they can all turn into different animals. And in fact, in the credits, we see the names of all of them. The leader is Vertigo, and then there's a coyote, crow, fox, owl, rat, and snake. It's also important to notice that Vertigo's name, this actress, is the one who is appearing in the credits at the end over this witch. So I had thought that we didn't know who this was, and it turned out her name also showed up in the second episode. So, okay, so we know who shows up over this witch, but if you've been following the videos, breakdowns each time, I've mentioned we don't know whose name shows up over this image in the credits. Could be Wanda, maybe, because it's a hex. Could even be Mephisto, because it's a pentagram. Or it could be some rando. But I'm holding out hope that it's going to be somebody big whose name shows up here. All right, so now the Salem Seven are chasing after Agatha. They really want her. In fact, not only Agatha, but they say, find her, find them. They want to wipe out the whole coven. So it's really cool. They crawl around on the ground like animals, obviously, because they can turn into animals, and they eventually find something important. They find one of the remnants left behind, when they did that ceremony. In fact, here you can see where they had set it down originally, and this allows them to pick up the scent and find the coven. Yikes, that is scary looking. At the same time, Lilia wakes up from a dream and realizes, oh my goodness, we did not close the door behind us. You always got to close the door in horror films, right? So she says the summoning spell, we left the door open. So they all want to know who's coming after us, and she explains it's the Salem Seven. And she says when Agatha murdered her sister witches, and then Rio jumps in with, because her own mother tried to have her executed, which is interesting that she's defending Agatha here. But she's right. This is the scene from WandaVision where they did try to kill Agatha, including her own mom was trying to kill her. But Lilia takes a breath and says, let me finish. When Agatha murdered her sister witches, she spared their young children. So the Salem Seven are actually the children of that original coven. Now, it's interesting because in the comics, they're the children of Nicholas Scratch himself. So they're kind of Agatha's grandchildren, because of course Nicholas is obviously Agatha's son. So they went a totally different direction because Nicholas never made it to adulthood to have kids. But that's just kind of interesting. So in both cases, the Salem Seven are tied somehow to Agatha. So yeah, they want revenge. And, once again, Rio comes to kind of Agatha's defense when she says, yeah, and then they became a feral, hive-minded coven bent on revenge. But here's what's interesting. She's bringing that up, right? Saying, hey, they're terrible people, this Salem Seven. Well, remember, in episode 1, it was Rio herself that said, I'll be sure to tell them where to find you. And who's the them? Well, the worst of them, the Salem Seven. So yeah, 1 minute, Rio is like, defending Agatha against the Salem Seven. The next minute, she's sicking the Salem Seven on her. I mean, Rio's the reason they're coming after Agatha. So yeah, 1 minute she hates her, 1 minute she loves her. That's what love can do. Love makes you do strange things. All right, so anyway, in comes Agatha, who says, yeah, the moral of the story, kids, always finish what you started. Oh, and by the way, mercy is overrated. Love it. Agatha's awesome. So they start to take off to get away from the Salem Seven, but they're surrounded. They're behind them. They're in front of them. The only thing left to do is take to the air. And Teen drops another big word. He's cracking me up. He says, what about a hexenbezen? Which is a very fancy word for broom. But this isn't the first time he's dropped big words. Remember, back in episode 3, he talked about the sous vide. We all had to look that up. What on earth is a sous vide? So it's really interesting. Sometimes he'll say things, with a massively advanced vocabulary. Other times he seems naive and doesn't even know what counterclockwise means. So he's fascinating. But anyway, they decide they need to make the brooms, and then Lilia goes off on them. Lilia, once again hating the stereotypes, says brooms have been co-opted by the holiday industrial complex as an absurd emblem of our culture. Oh, and by the way, worse yet, they're an obvious symbol of female domesticity. So this is not the first time that she's talked about stereotypes, because remember, in episode 4, she said, you know what the worst part of being a witch is? It's all the misconceptions and rumor mongering, and she mentioned such as the fact that we talk to goats. And then in episode 3, even funnier, she says, do you see any pointy hats in here? Any green skin? Any brooms? Well, they're about to make brooms now. So it seems like definitely she has been stereotyped for centuries, and that really frustrates her. So I do think in her challenge, she's going to have to face witch stereotypes. But anyway, while they're making the brooms, Teen then comes under attack from one of the Salem Seven, and yikes, just lands on him, ready to take him down. Agatha, once again, is very protective. Well, that won't last. She's going to start turning on Teen by the end, and he's going to turn on her. But for now, she's very protective and wants to help him, but it's Alice to the rescue as she smacks the witch across the head with the broom. Nice move. And then they take off. Let's get out of here. Teen in particular is trying to figure out how to ride the brooms, but Rio just screams, woohoo! I love Aubrey Plaza. She is amazing. Every scene she's in, she steals. All right, so very cool seeing them take flight. And yes, they did look more impressive than Thor did on Stormbreaker. But they realized they got to get out of here because they're going to have to take the high road. The Salem Seven are down on the road itself. So they head up as high as they can. In fact, they give us this nice, cool shot in front of the moon. Reminds us of E.T., but also just a beautiful shot. And I love how they're just enjoying it. Lily is realizing I haven't done this in centuries. Yes, it's a stereotype, but it's fun. It's just fun. So it's just cool to see them cutting loose. Then Teen asks a great question. Why haven't we been doing this all along? And we get the answer, because the road isn't going to let you. The flight has been canceled, and the road forces them back down again. And once again, Rio, having the time of her life, gives the best witch cackle since The Wizard of Oz. Incredible. But yeah, then Teen realizes the next trial is ahead, but there's at least one thing standing in their way. It's that vertigo witch with these bees, locusts. I'm not sure what they are, but if they are bees, maybe she can tell us what happened to the beekeeper. I want to know what happened to that dude. Please, somebody. But so they blow right through her like she's nothing. That's awesome. And they realize, hey, any cabin in the woods will do, right? So they run up to the cabin, and I love this. So some of the marketing for this episode, this is Aubrey, who will soon be in the pajamas that they all will be. But notice she's sitting and kind of has a bunch of monitors behind her, almost like she's watching everything from afar. Totally reminds me of Cabin in the Woods. If you haven't seen this movie, you've got to see it. But I do wonder how much of this Rio is in control of. It's interesting to see what role she's been playing in the road all along. And so something interesting to notice is the aspect ratio did not seem to change. It changed in the other ones as soon as the trial started, but it stayed the same this time around. So I don't know if that's significant, but anytime something different happens, we have to pay attention to it. But okay, so they get inside, and it's time for a jammy jam, a nice 80s jammy jam. I love the 03 on Agatha's shirt. I can't help but wonder if that's not for Maiden Mother Crone, since that's on her brooch. And it looks like Lily is kind of the mom, being the chaperone for the party. Then Agatha explains, hey, all we have to do is complete the trial, right? That's going to be simple. But Alice gets a great line saying, how? By kiss, marry, kill? Very appropriate for a jammy jam. Then this is funny. A lot going on in this shot here. So one thing you got going on is Teen can't find the spell book, and he's freaking out. But what's also funny is notice Jennifer is realizing there's something going on in her mouth. Yes, that is a retainer. So the spell has made it appropriate, right? A Teen jammy jam, at least somebody's going to have a retainer in. So that's funny. In fact, we'll see the retainer coming back a little bit later. But yeah, Teen is freaking out about the spell book, and Agatha says, forget it. You can take the training wheels off. And that is a cool bit of foreshadowing, because sure enough, Teen is going to take the training wheels off as he learns to use his magic by the end of the episode. Love that. And speaking of Teen, I love his outfit. It's basically a bargain basement version of his comic accurate outfit. A lot of the same color scheme, even the headband. Very, very cool. But everybody wants to know, whose trial is this, right? But it turns out it's Agatha's trial. And of all people, it's Rio that realizes that. And I think that's interesting because it is a spirit trial. So, of course, Rio would know that it's Agatha's. But I was confused. I didn't think Agatha was going to have a trial. I mean, granted, in the last episode, we saw the purple steps and the purple leaves. So it certainly made it seem like Agatha's going to have a trial, but I thought it was just the main four witches that were going to. Well, Lilia explains it. She says, look, it's a blood moon, and when the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest, that's when we would have our spirit trial. So I was still confused on why there was a spirit trial, and thank you to the loremonger on the Discord. This is awesome. Loremonger shared that there are 5 traditional elements in witchcraft. Obviously water, air, earth, and fire, but notice spirit also. So that's why we're getting a spirit challenge, and that means there are probably going to be 5 total challenges with air and earth left to come. All right, so Teen then asks, wait, I thought talking to the dead was your department, Lilia. And Lilia explains, no, that's a common misconception. I read people, I read time. The whole communing with the spirits, that's fake. But what's interesting is when she's talking about reading people and reading time, we're going to see how her divinations work as we go a little further on. And they surprised me. They really surprised me with something in this episode. All right, so Teen realizes that they need to Ouija. He turns it into a verb as they pull out the game, and that is what our trial is going to be. And in fact, the timer starts. We always get a timer, right? And this time it's these funny 80s sports watches with a timer. So Teen goes over all the rules. I'm only going to talk about a few of them, but I thought this one was funny. He says, I repeat, do not taunt the spirits, because everybody looks at Agatha like, yeah, that would be you, right? She's like, what? No, I wouldn't do that. It's like, oh, you would totally be the one to do that. But Teen also explains, do not ask about death, which is funny, since if Rio is death, Rio's already there with them. Always end the session with goodbye. That's really important. And under no circumstances should you remove your hand from the planchette, because, of course, that will allow the spirit to be released. And that happens a couple times, once for real and once for fake. And then I thought this was funny. On the back, he reads, for ages 3 and up. Now, I was a little surprised because I'm thinking, there's no way this game is for 3 and up, right? So I did look it up, and sure enough, it is for 8 and up, as you can see. So I think they changed it to 3 and up here as a clever little wink and a nod to the fact that Teen, who we're going to see for sure is Billy Maximoff, Billy would only be around for 3 years, because it was 3 years ago with the WandaVision Hex. So yeah, that's kind of funny. Had it not been 3 and up, he wouldn't be able to play. Love it. Also, it's interesting, the game has a reference to Parker Brothers. It's always cracked me up to think of a Ouija board as a game. It's not a game. You're trying to contact spirits, for crying out loud. The same company that marketed Monopoly marketed the Ouija board. Okay, whatever. But also notice Salem, Massachusetts, obviously very important to witches in general and to Agatha in particular. All right, so they sit down to do the Ouija board. Never a good idea, right? I mean, we've seen how this ends in multiple movies, but they have no choice. It is the trial. They must do it. All right, so here, this is interesting. So then Agatha starts the chant and says, Mother, maiden crone, spirits be known. So this is kind of our first hint that she's faking it, because that's not the right order, right? I mean, we know from the Witch's Road that it's maiden, mother, crone. So that's our first clue that this one is not real. Then she says, who do we have the pleasure of communing with? And we kind of get our next clue, because the spirit would not say Mrs. Hart. That's obviously Agatha moving it at this point, because the spirit would say Mrs. Davis. But it still fooled me. I was fooled. So then Agatha gives a great Mrs. Hart impersonation, starting with oh my, talking about looking up Facebook conspiracies, drinking before noon, and then finally concludes by saying, and there you were, bringing chills and thrills and bringing on my own early demise. Very funny. Obviously, you could quickly tell that she's faking and that it really isn't Mrs. Hart, but I thought that was a great little bit. But they call her on it. They're like, come on, Agatha, get serious. We got to do our trial. So notice now she says it correctly. Maiden, mother, crone, spirits be known. So then they ask, who is with us here tonight? And the board spells death, which is great because Rio just cracks up because she's like, yeah, of course death is here. I'm right here. But remember, they're not allowed to ask about death. So that works out well for Rio to keep her identity secret for a little longer. Then what does death want? It wants to punish Agatha. Yikes. So the spirit wants to punish Agatha. All right, so everybody else starts screaming, and look at Rio's face. Rio is having the time of her life. I love that smile. And then look at this. She just throws her arms up in joy. Everybody else is screaming, and she is loving every minute of it. Chef's kiss, Aubrey. Chef's kiss. So good. All right, so this is an interesting divination. So Lilia says, I hated this the first time. Now, so far, all of her divinations have been of something in the future. So I'm assuming she's going to say this in the future. I guess it's possible she's referring to something in the past. Let me know your thoughts on that. But I'm going to set this aside as yet one more divination that we're going to hear her say in the future. But there's something even cooler and stranger coming up with her divinations. All right, so this is funny. Remember I mentioned the retainer. Jennifer realizes, I got to get this thing out of my mouth. So she stores it in her little carry case. That's awesome. And then finally, is able to say, punish Agatha. They're realizing they need to punish Agatha. So they suggest they could tie her up, and Teen's like, you can't be serious. I can't. And then they throw out humiliation could also work, and good old Rio with we could just slit her throat. I don't think Rio's serious, although you never know. With Rio, you never know. And then great line by Agatha, when people ask me why I don't have female friends. But also interesting is notice Rio's dagger has been changed into a box cutter, although it still looks pretty menacing. That's the most menacing box cutter I've ever seen. So very, very clever. All right. Then Teen gets shut down. So this is interesting. Teen says, we were all getting along, weren't we? We were clicking. There was unity. And Jennifer says, familiars don't get a vote. Now, I think that's the first time they've officially called him a familiar. They've referred to him as a pet, as Teen, etc., but never as a familiar. And that's really important because obviously in the song, familiar by thy side. So yeah, maybe that's why they've never panicked. They don't have a familiar since they've realized that he'll do just fine. But he ain't going to be a pet for long. But anyway, then the lights go out and they're like, what's happening? What's going on? Teen flashes the light on the ceiling. Oh my goodness. And we get this epic reference to, just about every zombie movie ever, right? Could be Evil Dead, could be Exorcist. I just know it looks awesome. And Rio, sweetheart, you okay? Love her. Then, no, she's not okay because she lands on the ground, does the backward crawl, which of course was made famous in the Exorcist movie, and then goes to attack Teen, who is not enjoying this at all. She's possessed, this time for real. Yeah, this is not some Mrs. Hart fake possession. She is really possessed. So they turn the lights on, and that seems to draw the spirit out because the spirit now we officially see, and Agatha goes and hides, actually. So Rio realizes that is a ghost. I hate ghosts, which is funny. If you think about it, death would hate a ghost. The whole purpose of death is to take you to the afterlife, but a ghost is someone hanging around, almost defying death. So very clever. All right, so then she explains, I am Evanora Harkness of the Salemites. And of course, yes, that is Agatha's mom that we saw back in WandaVision that tried to kill her. So interesting. She's not happy at all, and she explains that the punishing that must happen for Agatha is you must finish the Witch's Road without Agatha. Leave her with me. That will be her punishment. So interestingly, Rio now is upset. No way, she says. So I don't know that that's so much that she cares about Agatha as Rio wants to be the one to punish Agatha. No one else gets that opportunity. She wants to do it. So very interesting. All right, so then this, my word, what coming from a mom, right? You were born evil. I ought to have killed you the moment you left my body. My word. So what's going on here? Is this just her, pretty upset that Agatha killed her? I could see why she would be upset. Or was Agatha truly born evil? Did Evanora make some deal with Mephisto? So we have kind of a family curse going on here. I don't know whether to take that as literal or not, but those are strong words. So strong that everybody else is just speechless. They're like, okay, well, we hate Agatha, but my word, we wouldn't have said that. So yeah, wild. But then Agatha's begging them, please, don't leave me with her. I can be good, please, which is reminiscent of what she said back in WandaVision when she said, please, I can be good. You just don't know what to think about Agatha. One minute you feel sorry for her, the next minute you want to smack her upside the head. Great acting by obviously Catherine Hahn, but I can't figure out whether she is evil or not. They're just throwing lots of clues out here. All right, so she's then possessed again. Looks like, they're going to leave her behind, but nope. Alice decides, I'm stepping in. I'm going to take care of this. Using her magic, really cool, orange-colored magic, as you can see. And it's affecting Agatha, affecting the spirit, slowly driving it out. But then this is what's so fascinating. Notice, Lilia doesn't just say something, she's screaming, but we don't hear a sound. So what do we think she was screaming here? Well, if we look at her earlier premonitions, she literally says in one of them, Alice, don't. That's from episode 4. And in episode 3, she says, try to save Agatha. So if you put them together, Alice, don't try to save Agatha, seems to be what she's screaming out here. But why doesn't she scream it? I assumed that her divinations were she was seeing things she's going to say in the future. In this case, it's almost like she pulled the words out of her mouth and said them in the past, like she's unable to say them in the present because she already said them in the past. My word, what is going on? That is fascinating. Let me know your thoughts on that. Am I reading too much into this? But go back and watch this scene and you will see her screaming with no words coming out. And obviously, had she said, Alice, don't save Agatha, Alice might still be alive. Wow. Then she says, calmly, Knight of Wands. So, okay, what's going on here, right? The Knight of Wands card, that is Alice's card. If you've seen my video on the tarot cards, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's really interesting. But so the Knight of Wands is Alice's card. And we've seen many times where Lilia is calling out a tarot card when she realizes that's the card that represents the character, that she's looking at. So she sees Alice, says Knight of Wands. Previously, she had said Three of Pentacles. That refers to the coven itself, and that's when she was divining the coven. She obviously said High Priestess when she looked at Jen, because Jen's card is the High Priestess. And she also said Three of Swords when she realized that's the card that represents Agatha. And one of the really cool details is, notice Agatha's hands. They are literally in the same position as the card. So yeah, these tarot cards are very, very important. So that's 4 times now that Lilia has called out a tarot card. For reference, there are 4 cards remaining. She's not called out Queen of Cups, and I believe that card represents her. I think the Tower is Teen, and we'll definitely talk more about that card in a second. I think Rio is Death, and the Magician, that might be everybody, or it might be Teen. So be interesting. Kind of keep an eye out to see if she calls out any more of these cards as the series goes along. Then we see that, yes, it is working. Alice is able to save Agatha. She's driving, literally, the spirit of Evanora out of Agatha's body. But then it turns around and Agatha starts stealing Alice's power. So I'm really curious your thought on this. Is Agatha able to control this? Later she's going to say, I can't control it. I don't know. I'm torn. She always seems to be reveling in it, but it could just be a defense mechanism that once the power starts to go into her, she totally loses control. So let me know your thoughts on that, but I am leaning more towards this is intentional, that she knows what she's doing. But let me know your thoughts. Really curious. But so yeah, she is sapping the power out of Alice, and therefore Agatha is slowly gaining her own power back again. Crazy. So while this is all going on, Teen wants to identify the spirit. He asks, who are you? And it spells out Nicholas Scratch. So this is really interesting because he says verbally, Nicholas Scratch. He calls it out. I think that is for sure when Agatha knew that Teen is not her son Nicholas, because the sigil would have appeared over his mouth when he said the words Nicholas Scratch, because he can't say his own name. So the fact that he could say Nicholas Scratch is 100% positive proof that he is not Nicholas Scratch. And that's going to cause the rift between him and Agatha in a minute. But then notice the watch beeps, and sure enough, they only got a few seconds left. So then we hear Nicholas screaming, Mama, stop. Mama, stop, trying to get her to stop doing what she's doing to Alice. But here's where I'm a little confused. If the spirit is Nicholas, then where did Evanora come from? Because notice, the Ouija board didn't say the spirit is Evanora. In fact, Evanora's name never came up on the Ouija board. So I guess a couple possibilities. Was Nicholas forming as Evanora? Is that how Nicholas wanted to punish Agatha, was by coming back as her mom? Or did Evanora come in also with Nicholas? So maybe, once the Ouija opened the door for the spirits, did multiple spirits come? I don't know. I mean, it seems weird that Nicholas would use Evanora to punish Agatha, but that's possible. I think it's probably more likely just multiple spirits came in. But let me know your thoughts on that. But clearly, Nicholas was here, crying out to his mom. All right, so then Teen shuts down the trial by going to the goodbye, and the door opens for them to escape, which is interesting because this is the first time that they've had to go up. If you remember, every time so far they've gone down. They open the gate, they go down the stairs. They go through the oven, they slide down. They go through the piano, and once again, they go down. So I don't know if it's significant or not, but it is definitely a change to the pattern. And I think anytime there's a change to the pattern in this show, it's something we should pay attention to. So let me know your thoughts on that, if you think that's relevant, that they seem to be going up this time. But clearly, Alice will not be going up with them. She has been drained of all life and seems to be dead. I'm assuming we won't see her again. I hope we do. I hope there's some way they all come back at the end. But man, she looks very, very dead. And man, shout out to 80s Model. 80s Model called it just a few days ago. She said, I'm really worried for Alice. Her backstory has wrapped up, and we haven't seen any photos of her in the air trial, which of course is from the trailers. But let's hope for the best. Well, I don't know. It turned out the hope did not work because 80s Model called it that Alice did not make it. Crazy. All right, so now Teen has he is done with Agatha. Don't touch her, he says. She was protecting you, and you don't deserve it. So yeah, yikes. So Agatha leaves, goes up through that hatch and escapes the trial and tries to test out her new powers. I am assuming, since it kind of fizzled, that it didn't work. But let me know your thoughts on that. Was she just kind of seeing a little bit if she could conjure it and then she shut it off? Or does she truly not have Alice's power after all? I mean, did Alice die for nothing? That's interesting. All right, so also notice the yellow trees now. Everything is yellow, the yellow leaves. So the question is, whose challenge is next? Well, if we look at one of the promo items, which was all the different colors for the witches, you can see in the lower left-hand corner that Lilia's was indeed yellow, and she's worn a lot of yellow. So I'm pretty sure the next trial will be hers, which will be the air trial. But that's assuming there's any witches left to do the trial. So yeah, let's get to that. So out comes Teen, very upset with Agatha. You wanted power. That's what this has always been about for you, isn't it? Well, Agatha tries to say, I can't control it, which again, I don't know if I believe that. Let me know your thoughts on that. But Teen ain't having none of it. Let's put it that way. So then out walks Lilia, who says, death comes for us all. Now, maybe that counts as her calling out the death card. I kind of don't think so, because normally she's calling out the card when she sees that someone represents that card. But maybe she figured that out. Maybe Rio is not with them, right? I think Rio is back there collecting Alice. So maybe Lilia is realizing that now, that Rio is death. That is interesting. Let me know your thoughts on that. Has that come to Lilia's realization? All right, anyway, Teen again is just done with Agatha. This is what it means to be a witch? Killing people to serve your own agenda? No, not for me. And now Agatha turns on him. Agatha is done with Teen. She knows it's not Nicholas. She probably realizes for certain this is Billy Maximoff because she says, are you sure? Because you're so much like your mother. So she's either hedging a bet and guessing, or she knows now this is Billy. This is Billy come back, and obviously she hates Wanda, so would not like Billy either. And yeah, Teen does not appreciate that. Let's just call him Billy at this point. But yeah, Teen does not appreciate that. And then when Agatha says, come pet, which she's been calling him pet for a while now, but this time he's done. He wants nothing to do with this anymore. Notice the magic starts to glow. It's blue, so blue magic starts to glow. And I think he is controlling Lilia and Jen, because notice their eyes are blue. So he's using some of the same things that Wanda was able to do to control others, to take them over. And sure enough, they grab Agatha and chuck her into the bog, and Agatha goes down. Yikes. And then this is interesting. If he's controlling them, I don't know why they then seem to attack him. I mean, they don't touch him, but they certainly head aggressively towards him. So he chucks them through the air, screaming no, and they go flying into the bog, and they now sink down. So Jen and Lilia are sinking down into nothingness, and they are gone. What on earth is going on, okay? What is going on? So are they going to show up now in the real world? If you go down in the bog, do you go back to real life? Will they be able to re-enter through the same door that was left open that the Salem Seven came in? Is that what's going to happen? Or is Teen going to kind of break out of whatever is happening to him right now and pull them out? Using his magic, will he pull them out of the bog and save them? That's kind of my guess, but I'm really curious. What do you think happens next? This was a crazy ending. But of course, the craziest was to see him with the crown. Yep, a crown just like he put on, or Wanda put on herself. With a red crown, he's got his blue crown. And they play Billie Eilish's song, You Should See Me in a Crown. Double meaning there, because obviously you should see him in the crown, which we do, but also Billie Eilish, that's a hint towards him being Billy Maximoff. In fact, there's just no doubt. I mean, if they keep calling him Teen, I'm going to keep calling him Teen, but he's obviously Billy Maximoff, back from the dead. And in fact, I think that's why this tower card represents him, because notice the blue crown on the tower card. And I'm wondering if the two people falling out of the tower are Billy and Tommy. So now we finally may know what happened to Billy, and obviously we have to wait to find out what happened to Tommy. My guess is the Vision Quest series will be where Tommy comes back finally. In fact, maybe one of the things Teen has been trying to do on the road is find Wanda and find Tommy. So maybe that is his quest. So will we see Wanda before this is all over? Also, what I love is, speaking of Wanda, that this is Wiccan that was in this one of the statues at Mount Wundagore, and sure enough, now officially Wiccan has entered the MCU because, there is no doubt in my mind that is the ascendance of Billy Maximoff into Wiccan. So let me know your thoughts. Are you excited about this? I sure am. This was so very cool. Hey, can next week get here sooner, please? Oh my goodness gracious. This series is incredible. 3 more weeks. Remember, doubleheader on October 30th. Let me know if I missed anything in this breakdown. Let me know how excited you are about the show. So don't forget, October contest, be a subscriber, leave a comment, win a book or a steel book, and there's that membership option in case you're interested in that. And I always love to mention the Discord. Here we are in the spoiler section, and Missile kind of summed up everything. Interesting. Yeah, this series has been very interesting. So love to have you get on the Discord. 1,700 members across the globe, conversations 24/7, and we would love for you to be part of it. I'll leave a pinned comment so you can join. Also, if you don't mind, like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out more content, and we'll all continue to enjoy the ever-growing, the ever-changing Marvel Cinematic Universe.